Every class-based game can be simplified into three roles: tanks, absorbing damage and brute forcing their way to victory; damage dealers, that utilize their offensive capabilities to clear out the room of opposition; and, most infamously, supports, leaving behind the thrill of frontlining and fun of dealing damage for the noble cause of keeping their teammates alive and helping them enjoy their time. The support role is set in stone for most games, a character with weak offense and the ability to heal their allies. Design-wise too, sometimes it's a doctor applying medicine to his teammates, sometimes it's an angel, healing people with the power of divine magic. Sometimes it's both, sometimes it's neither, and sometimes it's a German lunatic with an attitude and 7 surgically attached souls.
Your heart.
What was noise?
The sound of progress, my friend. Perfect.
Soulknight went through with a bit of a twist on the angel archetype, however, using a priestess as their one and only pure support character, providing healing, defense, and much more to those who pick her up. In theory, a character like this should be extremely popular. Self-healers are some of the best characters in the game, and who wouldn't want a healer alongside them when they play offense like Berserker or Knight in co-op, right? Well, the reality is, even though she does exactly what you think she does, and really well at that, she's one of the most unpopular characters in the whole game. Hell, even say she's worse than the officer, and she's almost constantly placed at the bottom of every tier list. So today, let's take a look at the only healer in the game. Is she really the worst of the bunch, or is she simply misunderstood? Let's find out. The Priestess is the game's only support character with 4 health, 6 armor, and 220 energy. For a character that is all about health, she sure as hell forgot herself because dear god the 4 HP are problematic. You have more energy than usual and actually decent armor, but if you miss position as a Priestess, you might as well say goodbye to your run. This is both applicable in single player and co-op, by the way. We've all been in that situation where the Priestess dies first and there goes your entire strategy. A friendly reminder that some attacks do well over 4 damage, so if an armorless Priestess is caught, she's basically gone. Also, we don't usually look at these, but fun fact, the Priestess has a melee damage of 3 and 0 critical hit chance. Basically, get used to your fucking bet out damage. Her passive is the increased potion effectiveness buff, which doubles the effect of potions and healing sources. I initially thought that this was somewhat of a mediocre buff. I mean, sure, it basically makes her more gold efficient and whatever, but it's no lighter assassin buff really. Turns out it was better than I thought because it interacts with, all of this. Not only that, but it also interacts with her abilities, improving their healing as well. Basically, she's yet another character that needs 10 700 gems instead of 5 700 to reach its full potential alongside the Demonmancer and Officer, which really rubs me the wrong way, especially since she's the most expensive gem character in the game. But what do I? This buff is pretty forgettable, and it does require some other buffs to be noticeable, but hey, at least it's better than literally nothing. Her main weapon is the Wooden Cross, a no-aim required staff that deals damage to 3 nearby enemies. If it targets only 1 enemy, it takes more damage. I don't know what it is with games and giving supports no-aim weapons, but I digress. This weapon is decent enough. It slows you down a bit, so that's already 7 tiers below every other starter weapon, but the inability to miss does make dodging easy. It's not the worst weapon, but it definitely should be replaced as soon as possible. The main room chest could give you a decent replacement, or at least a side grade, so I recommend using some gems to unlock it. Well then, so far not bad. She has bad stats, but a decent buff, and a not so bad starter weapon. So already 2 points ahead of this fucking guy. Let's see how her abilities hold up. Regenerative Pact is her signature ability, and it's easy to see why. When used, she spawns a circle in her correct location that heals all allies inside 2 HP 3 times for 2 seconds. It also applies the armor debuff, I generally have no idea why it's called that, which instantly gives you 1 armor and makes the next armor point generate much faster. This ability is perhaps the most stable of all 3. The 6 HP is sure to top up any damage you take, and the armor debuff is really solid for playing aggressively, since you don't have to stay behind cover for long in order to generate your armor. It's decent in single player, except for one problem. You could only really benefit from 3 hearts, thanks to the Priestess low HP. Yes, only 3. Because you can't be missing 4 hearts without dying, half of the healing goes to waste. And that's assuming you're missing both 3 hearts and somehow aren't in a position to lose 1 more. Sure, the vampire has the same issue, but not only are his cooldowns much faster, but he also has 2 sources of self-healing, and his abilities deal damage. So using them for damage while missing only 1 or hell even no hearts is usually fine. In fact, this is where we get to the Priestess' biggest problem as a character. She provides the ability to remove a mistake that shouldn't happen, taking health damage. Avoiding this is the most important skill you should learn when you play Soulknight. It's why characters that can avoid damage altogether even for a moment are hard meta, because they give time for their armor to generate. And sure, you can use her skill to generate 2 points of armor, but you waste all the healing it does by doing so early. And with her passive and basically everything in her kit revolving around healing damage, she fails at preventing damage overall. You have to use it when near death, not early, which leaves very little room for error, which is ironic considering she's supposed to minimize errors with that skill. Fun fact, did you know that this ability actually deals damage? No you didn't, because the situations where it gets utilized are really low. You have to use it behind cover, so that part of the ability is also wasted anyway. I guess it's there to use it more offensively, but any burst damage will make short work of that plan. Also, a side problem, if you get an offense-based dash use, well, say goodbye to that being useful because your ability usage must be a lot more patient and precise. Does this mean that this is a bad ability? No, in fact, it's pretty decent all things considered. It does exactly what it says it does. Heal. Situationally, that's all you need. Situationally, you can use it aggressively. Situationally, it can do more than the other defense ability. Keyword being situation. Situational characters are almost not worth it in Soulknight since rooms and dungeons change game to game, so you can't predict what will happen. But that doesn't mean this ability is terrible. It just fixes a mistake that shouldn't happen at all. But when it does happen, this ability is a god. How does this ability fare in co-op though, where the Priestess shine? Actually, fairly good. It lets you use characters that are more often centered like the Berserker, but the thing is, it's stationary, meaning using it may put your life at risk a lot more often than not by drawing the aggro of the masters. That being said, a skilled duo will always be able to survive the room, and having the ability to always heal up that damage before they go to the next room is extremely solid. The Priestess' second ability is Pray. Oh god, Pray. You know what? Let's talk about that third. Moon Shadow is the Priestess' third skill, and basically it's the Priestess going,
I say the whole world must learn of our peaceful ways. By force.
And while yes, it certainly feels like that at first, it won't really take you long to realize that that force is more like trying to beat someone to death with a rubber band. When equipped, 3 Moonlight missiles orbit around you. Pressing the skill changes them to Shadow missiles. Moonlight missiles heal and provide armor debuff. Shadow missiles damage and have a chance to apply a burn. Keep in mind, just because you're on Moonlight doesn't mean the orbs won't deal damage. They will sometimes target enemies and deal damage, which is really freaking inconvenient when you know you'll need them soon and they generate every 3.5 seconds and get used up immediately regardless. You can probably already tell that this ability is a problems fest. Problem 1. Choosing Shadow missiles wastes all the healing you can do, meaning that half the time you're not doing your job as a Priestess. You might think the damage might make up for it, yeah? Well, no. The problem 2. The damage is really low. Once again, I don't know what it is with games making supports that are balanced between damage and healing have such low damage, but... Oh, okay, never mind. The damage of a missile is 8, same damage as an opposite bullet. And trust me, if having 6 of these was considered terrible, having 3 is even worse. They can apply a burn, sure, but they are very much outclassed by even some low-tier weapons when it comes to damage, and it doesn't fare really well against enemies' damage. Probably 3. Orbs have no patience. Even if someone is at full health, Moonlight missiles will instantly be used up, applying the shield. So now your healing number is really low, thanks to the fact that the first 3 Moonlight missiles get instantly used up. So you're at best healing 2 HP every 3.5 seconds, and randomly too. So not only is most of it wasted, but it's also inconsistent. It can go to you or it can go to a teammate, it can apply the armor buff before you even get the chance to do anything. It's really inconsistent. Problem 4. The cooldown is really high. You might not think so, but you have to account for the fact that in order to switch back from Shadow missiles, you have to use the ability essentially twice. So to go back to 3 Moonlight missiles, you technically have to wait for 16 seconds. All while having to deal with the randomized healing and damage bullshit. This would all be fine if it wasn't for the fact that this ability tries to be the bridge between defense and offense, yet fails at both thanks to the orbs having no patience and numbers being too low. If you attach a gun to a bandage, it ain't gonna suddenly deal more damage than the TB-12 double-barrel pump shotgun, nor is it gonna give you any more healing than Obama's healthcare. So at the end of the day, you're paying money to do worse than not only all the characters in the game, but the Priestess Phase ability itself. It's really unfortunate too, cause the Priestess could definitely use something on the offense side. Man, if only there was an ability that granted her some form of an offense utility, while also providing healing and defensive aspects on a short cooldown simultaneously and... Oh, right, this thing exists. Yeah, can I tell this thing is broken yet? The ability's name is Pray, but trust me, the Priestess is not gonna be the one Pray. Pray is no better explained than by just listing out the things it does. Because just for using it, you give yourself and any nearby teammates 3 points of health, 2 points of armor instantly, increase defense by 1, which stacks with other sources by the way, increase speed by 2, and buff up your firing speed by 30%. If it wasn't clear, that's basically 4 statues put in one. They should really rename this shit to a none with a gun, because it doesn't matter if you're alone solo or with a team of 3 apes in co-op, pressing this skill is basically giving the Grim Reaper the middle finger, while simultaneously shoving the middle finger into the eyes of the boss. Standing there singing Gangster Paradise provides all this utility for a whole 5 seconds. The cooldown starts once the button is pressed, meaning that technically speaking, this ability only has a 7-second cooldown, shorter than both other abilities. You wanna know what's the best part? There is no aiming, random trajectory, or grouping up needed to do it. Just press it and everybody in the room receives it. The fighting speed buff stacks, by the way, so pair this up with a Berserker duo, add a drink and a Berserker statue, and watch the guy make the enemies realize how big of a mistake it was to be sacrilegious. The downside of this skill is that it's the only Priestess ability that doesn't apply the armor debuff. But the thing is though, it applies 2 armor points instead of 1 and then generating the other one faster. And it also increases defense on top of all of that, so it's literally better than the debuff. This ability is legit broken. So why isn't it more used, you might ask? Well, that's simple. It's really hard to get ability fragments. I've been playing Soulknight ever since it looked like this. Yes, back when there were only 8 playable characters and the rogue looked like your average esports player. And even then, I still don't have it. I've been using vouchers all this time. Why? Prey's only weakness isn't even on the ability itself, it's on the Priestess being extremely squishy. But you know, applying all of this, while also being the lowest cooldown ability she has, meaning she can use it early, would substitute really well, I would say. Because at the end of the day, why have the ability to dodge, the ability to block, or a whole ass army of turrets, when all what you need to finish 3-5 is to raise your hands at the A and pray for the monster's downfall? So with all this being said, why is the Priestess not at least B or C tier for people? While yes, she only has one trash ability, she also has one decent ability and a broken one. What is the problem? Well, once again, the biggest challenge Priestess faces is that she mainly exists to prevent a mistake that shouldn't happen. If you get good at dodging, getting behind cover to regenerate armor, and knowing the amount of damage each bullet type does, the Priestess becomes literally useless. Basically, she's a coach. I'd like to call her situation the Necromancer syndrome, where her base kit helps deal with a skill issue that you have to fix very early on when playing this game, if you want to have any fun. Avoiding damage will always be the superior option to healing it up. If you don't want to use a character that can avoid damage, then practicing movement alongside using the offense characters will also be better than healing up damage. While she's good in co-op, you have to account for the fact that buff sharing is a thing in that game mode too. This is why something like the Assassin and Paladin combo is really good, because it basically gives the Paladin the Taoist second skill for free. And if you really want to self-heal, you can always ask for a Vampire Buddy to share his passive with you. This is why the Priestess is unpopular. She's simply in the wrong place. Here's the thing though, she wasn't meant to be playing offense, or solo for that matter. In my opinion, the Priestess is a great character, but only for the role she is designed to be. Judging her by how defensive or offensive she is basically judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree. She is good at supporting her teammates in co-op, letting them make aggressive plays and lessening the consequences of mistakes. Other characters can support their team too, sure, but not to the consistency of the Priestess. Alone, she's fine, but she will get outshined, but in co-op, she is always healing up people. Even if you do get a Vampire in co-op, his passive is random, meanwhile most of the Priestess healing is guaranteed. Most. That's where a support character's strength lies, helping others, not themselves, and I think that she succeeds at that. That's why, no, she is better than Officer and the Elemental Envoy. While they fail at being the offense characters they wanted to be, the Priestess is the perfect support you could ever ask for, as long as she's not using this fucking thing. Yes, she has consistency problems, but that can always be fixed by using the right skill. And yes, her health is low, but decent dodging and the right buffs can mitigate that. And yes, not all of us have friends to play co-op with, but in the end, the Priestess is underrated. Yes, she is a bit weak and pointless on her own, but that's not where she's supposed to be. I think the Priestess works for what she should be, a way for her teammates to go in for more aggressive plays and the undisputed best ring carry. While yes, she might not fit the usual playstyle of badass single player only, she also doesn't have to be good at that when she's good enough for co-op, her intended place. And hey, at the end of the day, she is still a self-healing character. So, you know. Thanks for watching, and special thanks to my friend Zed for helping me collect this footage. And I'd like to thank all of you for your nice words on the last video. If you have a suggestion for future videos, let me know. I have a list that I'd like to keep adding on. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.